Do you remember the last time someone went the extra mile and made you feel really, really special? I was racking my brains for this. I know there was a time when me and my sister, both gluten-free, went to a pub and having ordered a gluten-free main course, they'd said, would you like to have a look at the pudding menu? And we'd said, not really. Because frankly, mostly we're offered fruit salad. I love fruit, but not as a pudding or ice cream. I mean, yawn. And she said, we do a really lovely gluten-free hot chocolate brownie. Maybe you'd like to share one. We were in. She'd sold it to us. She'd remembered. Now, it was a busy pub and not everyone does remember. In fact, sometimes when I order something gluten-free, it arrives in a couple of pieces of quite ordinary bread. So it's not a given that people will remember what you like. Let's go back a couple of decades. Me and my husband, childless at the time, were on a sailing holiday in Turkey, and we'd been out on a catamaran, dart blasting, having fun. I was out on the trapeze, my husband was steering, wind, salt spray in my hair, sun on my face. It was tremendous. And then we hit a twirly bit of wind, and before you know it, we turtled. I'd slipped off the harness, whacked my leg on the mast, got tangled up with a whole load of ropes. And to be honest, I was more concerned about getting up and into the air than I was about anything else. And then I realised, my glasses. Where were my glasses? Everything was bright and everything was fuzzy. My prescription glasses were at the bottom of the ocean. Now, we only had a couple of days left of the holiday, but there were two things I knew that we couldn't do. One, order a new set of prescription sunglasses in turn, or two, squint for the rest of my holiday. I'd end up with frown lines on my face and my eyes would hurt. So we went into the local town to see if we could find some clip-on sunglasses or something that was at least the same shape as my other glasses so that I could double up. Now, in the days before the repair shop, for those of you in the UK who watch it, 2 pairs of glasses made you look really weird. So that wasn't a look I was going for. But we couldn't find anywhere that I could get a set of clip-on sunglasses that were even remotely the right shape. So as we were kind of heading towards dinner because we were hungry after all that sailing, we were being accosted by various different waiters or maitre d' or whatever they call them, trying to entice us into their restaurant. And you know, the normal banter, how are you, where are you from, we've got lovely sort of whatever food they think you like. And my husband did a really clever thing. He said, we'll eat at your restaurant if you can get someone to fit a pair of clip-on sunglasses to my wife's spectacles by the time we finish having coffee. And of course they knew someone. It was a cousin or a brother or a friend. Of course they knew someone who would do this for us. They got us into their restaurant, and by the end of the evening, which had been a little bit of a blur because I couldn't see, not because of... By the end of the evening, I had a clip-on pair of sunglasses. Hooray. The holiday was going to look a lot better, a lot more in focus, and not too squinty bright. They'd gone the extra mile. Now that might be typical of the Turks, and actually when we were in Turkey, we did find them absolutely brilliant, both when we were just a pair of adults and when we took our kids along later. There was one memorable boat trip when our 2-year-old son decided that he wanted to see whether his shoe floated, so he threw it over the side. Despite all their efforts, we didn't get it back, but they were so good at trying to help him for the rest of the day to enjoy his day. So where have you been to that's really gone the extra mile? What does really good hospitality look like? How would that translate into the contracts you have with suppliers that you use all the time? Isn't this the point at which you go, oh yeah, we've done stuff with you before. We know how you like to work. Let's just tweak our normal terms to make sure it works for both of us. Because the client and the supplier have a vested interest in this contract working. Let's not pretend that just because the client holds all the cash, that they're the only person who's important. The supplier has something that the client needs. They may have values as a business that the client ascribes to. They may have a way of working or personnel, just people that the client really likes. Well, The host has welcomed them into their business for a reason. Why not treat them like a host would treat his guest? Go the extra mile and write that into your contracts. You can write things into your contracts that you don't necessarily want to use, so allowing people to end the relationship, maybe for payment of a small compensatory fee, or it could be that you just try and keep them there as much as possible. But a fair, balanced, magnanimous contract is what we're looking for when we're talking about a xenial contract. Xenial, it's a Greek word talking about the relationship, the giving of gifts between people, the hospitality between a host and their guest. We don't need to talk about master servant. This isn't a crack the whip and do as I say, a Victorian type novel, a boarding school in the olden days approach. We're talking a much more collaborative, community-based, trust-based relationship where we understand what's important about the other person. We give them gifts that matter to them. You're the host if you're the client. How can you make your contracts more xenial, more genial, more hospitable? How can you make it seem like you're giving them a gift rather than slapping them in the face? Because your contracts can safeguard your business without annoying your suppliers.